If you Google worst country in Europe, one name comes up more than any other: Moldova. The reasoning is always the same. It's the poorest country in Europe, 1 in 3 people are gone, it has nothing to offer and nothing to see. I kept reading that and thinking, I need to go there myself.
Political situation is very bad because who is on the top?
I personally feel like Moldova is such a welcoming country because I personally think it's a hidden gem.
I am standing in the heart of Chișinău, Moldova's capital, and to be honest, it's not really what I had expected. According to the label, I was expecting something rather grim, but what I see here is actually a pretty city. At the first glance, of course. In today's video, we will dive deep into Chișinău and we will explore the city a little bit together. And most importantly, I will ask ordinary Moldovans what they think about the current situation of their country. And most importantly, I will ask them what it's actually like to live in the supposedly worst country of Europe. I've read, when I did my research about Moldova, that it is supposed to be the worst country of Europe.
Yeah.
I've read a lot of things about Moldova before coming here. Europe's poorest country, Europe's worst country. I personally didn't like the tag Europe's worst country at all because, I mean, just look around. You will definitely find beauty here as well. There are lots of tree-lined streets here and boulevards that look very well maintained and beautiful. The city center for now is really worth a visit and beautiful. Not at all what I had expected. There are lots of EU flags here in the city center. Moldova actually is not a country of the European Union yet, but they became a candidate a few years ago and you see already lots of flags here. I just see all of the EU flags here in the city center and I was wondering if this is actually something good for the country, if people are excited about this opportunity to become a EU member soon.
Yeah. So in my personal point of view, most of youngsters would like to be part of European Union, but we are aware that there is a lot of work to be done, and hopefully with a president that is pro-European, Maia Sandu, we can achieve all our goals. But it will take some years because all the reforms need time. There's a lot of things to be changed from the base, from the roots, so probably it's not going to happen in a year or so. But yes, definitely, Moldovan young people are pro-European. They see the opportunities abroad. We have a lot of expats that left the country for opportunities, and we can see that with the reforms and everything that is being implemented at the moment, people are returning back to Moldova, and they want to make a change. So this is really this gives us hope.
But one thing that I definitely noticed is that for a capital with over 700,000 people, it feels quite underpopulated. I mean, we're in the heart of the capital and just look around, there are just hardly people. It doesn't have the energy of other European capitals or other European cities in general. And I wonder if that is caused by more than 30 years of immigration by now. Moldova became independent in 1991 when the Soviet Union collapsed. When independence came, the economy collapsed with it. Russia cut gas supplies, industry disappeared. By the mid-1990s, Moldova was already the poorest country in Europe, and people started leaving. We were just walking along one of the most important cemeteries of the city. It's an old Soviet Union cemetery, a war cemetery actually, with soldiers of the Red Army that are here buried. And this is where we also found a woman who was open enough to talk to us. However, she didn't want to talk in front of the camera. However, it was a very interesting conversation we had because she told us that the worst part in Moldavian history was actually in the 90s after the collapse of the Soviet Union. As many old Soviet countries, it completely crashed. Like they had a huge, severe economic crisis, and that was when the situation here was really bad. People simply didn't have food. They didn't get paid here for 1 year, she said, and there was no food, there was no electricity, there were water problems, and that was a time where many Moldovans left the country. She said that now it is better, but there are still people leaving because the economy here simply isn't that strong. Now, before I get into the numbers, I want to talk about something that I actually use on every single trip, especially if I am in places where I'm not so sure if I will be virtually safe. And that is an VPN. Actually, while traveling, you will connect to several Wi-Fi networks that you basically don't know anything about. I personally always use NordVPN, which is a VPN that encrypts all of my data and everything that I'm doing online. That means that nobody will know where I'm banking, what I'm doing online, and what I am accessing. And it also means that I can watch my content from home while being abroad, because in some countries, some movies, series, or even entire platforms are actually completely blocked. The NordVPN places my location, my current location, virtually in a different country. So, for example, my home country, which means I can access anything that I can also access at home. I can only recommend it to you, so go check out the link in the description below if you want to check it out, and you will automatically get a discount applied. Now let's get back to why so many Moldovans actually want to leave their country or have left it already. Let's dive into the numbers. In Moldova, the average person earns more or less 600 euros per month. About 5 years ago, it was only at 300 euros per month. So things seem to be improving, although there's also quite an inflation here in the country. But what is definitely sure is that things aren't improving quickly enough. In 1990, there were roughly 4.3 million people living here in Moldova. Today, Moldova is estimated to have about 2.6 to 3 million people living here. So a large portion of the population has left the country already due to economic reasons. The exact figure is disputed because nobody is actually entirely sure whether those people that left ever came back or not. What is disputed though is the direction. People are leaving to Italy, to Romania, to Germany, countries where they simply see a better future for themselves. And every year, more and more people leave Moldova.
For a lot of people from Moldova, they live from Moldova because it's more better in another country. If you work in, example, Ireland or UK, or you have a little bit big salary, but here it's less, and all it's expensive: medicine, food, everything.
Yeah. I've read that the population has declined in the last 30 years by like 25% or something like that. Was it like in the 90s that a lot of people left and now it's a bit better, or would you say there's still lots of people leaving?
You know, a lot of people choose this is president because they hope will be more better, but it's not better. They make more heavy life here. They promise us, all population, to make a good job for us, because all the people from Moldova, they want to come back in Moldova. But it's not change nothing. The life is more bad, like how was before.
There are so many abandoned places here in Chișinău. We just found this one here. On Google Maps it says it's an old Soviet stadium, and it's a tourist attraction according to Google Maps, but as you can see there's like nothing here. There are these ruins here, and the rest here, this is completely wild forest. There is really nothing here. It is so strange. It is quite dirty here. Like, you see a lot of garbage here everywhere, which I guess is normal for an abandoned place. It seems like over there used to live someone in here, but yeah, right now it's just empty and completely dead and silent. I've read, when I did my research about Moldova, that it is supposed to be the worst country of Europe. Yeah. I didn't really like the tag because I think there is beauty everywhere, but I was wondering, what do you feel about reading such things? What do you think is really beautiful about your country?
Yeah, well, I've seen videos like this on YouTube as well, and it personally upsets me to see this kind of titles, because there's no better place like home. It depends what means worst for people that come to visit Moldova. I personally feel like Moldova is such a welcoming country, and what makes my personal experience going abroad, obviously, it's sightseeing, people, food, and I have, maybe the sightseeing is not the same as comparing to other Western European countries that were probably less affected by communism. But people are warm in Moldova, food is wonderful, you have great wine. So I really hope that more tourists will come to Moldova and they'll discover this little country.
There's one other thing that I really wanted to show you, and that are these exchange places where you can either exchange money, but there are also a lot of money transfer offices like MoneyGram or Western Union here. And that is, of course, also due to the fact that so many people left the country. There are lots of people who left in search for better opportunities to earn a bit more money, and they are sending money basically back here to their family members that stayed and are in need of it. I've read that more or less 15 to 25% of the BIP of Moldova actually comes from money that is being sent to family members here in Moldova from outside of the country. Imagine that. It is basically every fourth euro that flows into this country comes from outside. So this country is basically built on the fact that its own people are leaving. Obviously, people made a rational decision. They were looking what they could have here and what they could have in other places, and they chose somewhere else. But I do believe that people actually feel a little bit of hope, because in June 2022, Moldova actually applied for the EU membership. And a lot of Moldovans describe that moment as historic. But I keep wondering if people really believe that this will improve things. And I think I will try to ask people directly because EU membership, even though the EU agreed that they could apply for it, it doesn't mean anything yet. They are a EU candidate so far, and getting that membership could take 10, 15, even up to 20 years to get approved finally. So the question is, will this actually support Moldovans right now or not? Do you think a lot of people are actually happy to have the chance to be part of the European Union? Does that bring hope to the people that things here will improve?
I don't know if I am seriously. Before they hope that, but now I think they will be happy to change something more better, to have correctly
Justice.
and to have a little bit big salary and normal life.
So to just improve economically.
Europe is not changing. If we will go in Europe, we stay here, is not change nothing if they don't change.
So you mean the government is what actually needs to change?
Yeah.
You said you left the country. Where do you live right now?
So at the moment I live in London.
Okay.
I've been living there for like 13 years now.
And why did you leave?
Well, I left first for Romania because there were opportunities for me to study. And I studied totally for free because I won a scholarship. And it was a great opportunity and a great taste of what is Europe like and what it feels like to be in a European country. And then I just continued to explore other opportunities outside of Romania.
What was the actual reason why you left?
Well, because of studies, because at that time I felt like the studies in Romania were, and still to this day, they are much better than in Moldova. Perhaps I don't know what is the situation in universities now, but back then that was my opinion when it comes to studies. So I pursued some opportunities abroad, and then to be honest, if I look at the situation nowadays and I look at my friends, there are many more friends that are considering coming back to Moldova because there are different companies that are offering interesting opportunities, no words that you can find abroad. So yeah, I think the climate and the overall situation changed in the past years.
I came to Moldova wondering what it's actually like to live in a country so many people want to escape from. And to be honest, I still don't have a clear answer. I think we clearly saw the divided opinions of people who have left already and of people who stayed as well. There is a lot of insecurity about what will happen in the future. However, there are definitely people who have a lot of hope that things will improve in the future. What I do know though is that I believe Moldova definitely deserves a bit more of attention, because just look around, it is beautiful, it has potential, and there's a lot of beauty to find here. My journey through Moldova is not yet over, because tomorrow I will actually travel to Transnistria. It is a country that is basically only recognized by Russia as far as I know. Everybody else doesn't recognize it and recognizes it as a territory of Moldova. It is actually part of the country officially still. So I think this will be a very interesting video as well. I will ask people in Transnistria what it actually feels like to live in a country that is not internationally recognized. I'm not sure how well this will work out, because I'm not so sure if people there will be so open to talk about these kind of things. But we will figure that out together if you subscribe to the channel, and then I will see you next week in the video about Transnistria.